Hey guys, Otter here with you, talking about the cold shot M.O.A.B 150. Okay, what this is it's an elevation device specifically to go underneath your scope after you mount it. You mount your scope, get your zero on your scope at whatever yardage you want. Okay, now the nice thing about the cold shot is the M.O.A.B 150. Okay, the 150 stands for they guarantee 150 MOA of upward adjustment. Out of this particular model, I'm actually getting 220. I know quite a few people that have these mounted on their rifles, and every one of them has performed flawlessly, and they range anywhere from 215, and I know one guy getting 227 MOA out of it. Now, what does that mean for you as a shooter? It means, hypothetically, let's say on my 338 Lapua here, I set my Athlone Chronos BTR at 100 yard zero, right? Now, without even touching my turret, I go from 0 to, this is going to take a second, hang on, 220 MOA, takes a little while to dial up. Okay, right. Right there's 220. You see that gap? Okay, that's a 220 MOA gap right there. Now what that essentially means is I have not touched my turret yet, which means I now have, with the ballistics of the bullets that I shoot, with the hand load formula that I use, I went from 100 yard zero to a 2,850 yard zero. Yes, you heard me right. From 100 yard zero, 2,850 yard zero now, with just moving this. And I still have my turret to play with. That is what this piece of equipment does. Now, if I don't touch my turret and I make my shot, if I just use my cold shot, that means I can shoot out from 100 yards, okay, all the way out to 2,850. So I don't have to touch my turret until my target is past 2,850 yards. So, with that being said, after I make my shot, bring it back down. Do you hear the positive clicks? Each individual click is very positive. I've had this unit now for a little over 2 years. I've shot it in rain, I've shot it in sandstorms, I've shot it in snow, even with big heavy duty gloves on, because I believe the temperature was at -2 that day when we were shooting, because I wanted to actually test how positive the clicks were. Even with the big, thick, heavy-duty, sub-zero temperature gloves on, I could still feel each individual click, which is very, very important. But right on the top, I'll zoom in on in a second, there's a dial indicator with numbers, which you can go by that as well. I'm going to zoom in on the other side here and show you the dial pointer. Okay, but with this particular model, I go all the way down to the bottom, one click up. I'm back to 100 yard zero. That's my 100 yard zero. Haven't touched the turret. I could go all the way out to 2,850 yards, bring it right back down to zero without even touching my turrets. What does that mean? Let's say you can't afford a scope with a zero stop, but you want to make those, 2,000, 2,200 yard shots. Once you find your zero, you lock your turret. You don't have to touch your turret again. Ever. if you don't want to. This device can turn a $500 scope into a zero stop scope that gives you more than enough elevation to go, on average, I haven't heard anybody say that they're getting less than 2,500 yards capable with whatever their ballistic formula is, but I've never heard anybody say less than 2,500. So you go from 100 yard zero all the way out to 2,500 yards just by turning this dial, not even touching that one. Depending on what rifle you mount it on, I've seen one on a 223, I've seen one 270, I've seen 300 Win Mags, 308s, 30-06s. I've seen it, of course, on a 338 Lapua Magnum, which that's what this one in particular is. I've seen it on 375 Chi-Tecs. I've seen one on a 416 Barrett, a 408 Chi-Tec. And the most impressive that I've ever seen with my own eyes was on a 50 Tejas. It had an 808 grain projectile. That man's projectile weighed more than my entire round. It was insane. But he's had his for right about the same amount of time. I've got probably 500 rounds with this cold shot on this rifle. This is the third scope I've had on it. It has never ever given me one inclination of an issue. I have taken my scope off, disassembled the cold shot, mainly just taking the rail all the way off so I can get in there and clean all the dust out and grime and all that. And you know, it uses the plastic nylock bolts, so that way you don't have to worry about them vibrating loose. I've never had a component of the cold shot vibrate loose, become wore out, or anything of that nature. And same thing with all of my buddies that have them. My buddy with the 50 Tejas, he's probably got 300 to 400 rounds down range with it on his Tejas. Not one problem. Same thing with the guys with the 375 Chi-Tecs. I've got 500 plus rounds with it on this rifle, and not one single issue. Always returns to zero. It's a flawless, very simple machine. It works every time, doesn't jam, doesn't booger up, nothing. As long as you take the time to clean it and maintain it, just like anything in life. Now, the construction, okay, from the best of my knowledge, the main body and the pickaninny rail on the top that your scope mounts to is all one piece billet aluminum. Very sturdy, very stout. No flex in it, no nothing. The main dial wheel, I believe, is a steel that, I don't want to say stainless or anything like, 'cause I don't know, but it's not aluminum, it's steel. The spring inside is I believe it's the tungsten style springs, so it has a very, very long life of usage, the whole 9 yards. The dial indicator is very accurate. It's never skipped or gotten off. I've done many ladder tests with it, and it performs flawlessly every time, hands down. Now, I don't know if you can see right here, but you can see the wear marks where it's actually where the catch is for the spring return, and very crisp. You know, you can hear each individual one. It's very, I don't know, it's probably the best, it's hands down the best investment I have with my rifle because the extreme long shots that I do, without this, I know I would not be able to do them. I've already accomplished 3,710 yards with it, with a different scope. I'm going to be attempting a much further distance than that here very, very shortly. Oh, like I said, let's see if we can make something here so that way you can see it just a whole lot better. I need to adjust my lens here. Okay, hang on, give me a second, guys. And bam. Okay, you got your dial indicator right there. Okay, you see the nub? That's your pointer. That tells you how far you've gone up. And like I said, you've got your dial ring that is numbered to make it even easier. And for you mil-spec shooters, I just found out very recently that as of January of 2017, Cold Shot has actually started making a mil-spec Cold Shot. The small one has 72 or 74 M.O.A. or 72 or 74 mils of adjustment. That's huge. And yes, I cannot wait to get mine. Have a good day.